So this segment will be on RAW files. So what is RAW? Basically, your camera shipped from the factory will shoot JPEGs. In other words, your files will be saved as a JPEG file. You also have the option of saving your images into a RAW file, and many cameras today will allow you to shoot JPEG and RAW at the same time. So you'll end up with two different files of the same image. So what is a RAW file? A RAW file, all information is kept, so it's a much larger file. A JPEG is a compressed file, so all the information is compressed into a smaller, reasonably sized file. A JPEG will typically be about 5 megabytes, where a RAW file is going to be more like 25 megabytes. So it's going to take up a lot more room on your memory card than shooting JPEGs alone will. JPEG files, the sharpness, saturation, and color have all been processed. In a RAW file, no adjustments have been made to it, so you need to process the image. Basically, you need to go into the darkroom and process that. A JPEG file is immediately ready for sharing or printing. A RAW file is a proprietary file to the camera and must be processed in a camera RAW processing software to be made into a JPEG before you can print or share. A JPEG image is clipped in processing, so some of the highlights and some of the shadows are clipped, so that information is lost. A RAW file, all information is available, nothing's been clipped, so it's easier to recover from a poor exposure with a RAW file. White balance is recorded as you shot the image with a JPEG. However, with RAW, white balance can be adjusted after the fact, as if you'd set your camera to that particular white balance when you took the shot. You can adjust your white balance with a JPEG as well, but it's just not going to be as perfect as it would be if it was a RAW file. Since you have so much more information with a RAW file, you have the capability to do much more than you do with a JPEG. The downside is the fact that it is a larger file. It does take up more room not only on your camera card, but on your hard drive. RAW files will also slow down your camera since it takes longer to write a RAW file to the card than it does with a JPEG. So if you're shooting in a high burst continuous shooting mode, shooting with JPEG only is going to be your best bet. Adjusting a RAW file is also non-destructive because you can always go back to the RAW file and change anything that you've changed before back to the way it was or make different adjustments.